It's a once-in-a-lifetime auction, and you've got a front row seat. So many historic, finally restored motorcycles, rare race bikes, oddities and nostalgia, and pieces of history from legends that we never, ever thought would be up for auction. It's the personal collection of the late John Parham from Anamosa, Iowa, as his legacy lives on. People from all over are here to take a shot at these incredible bikes. And boy, there are some true gems here, no doubt. Everything from a 17-foot long road dog to a Captain America Easy Riders replica to the actual bike that Peter Fonda rode in Wild Angels. It's the end of an era, but a new beginning for so many.
Everything is
for sale and everything must go. Welcome to Iowa. Here we are. Hello, Cycle Drag Universe. How are you? Welcome to Anamosa, Iowa. Yes, I'm on the road for you, traveling once again. I never thought I would be in Anamosa, Iowa, but it's bittersweet. I'm here at the National Motorcycle Museum. The reason it's sweet is because I'm so happy that I finally get to see this place. The reason it's bitter is this is the end of the line. Let me fill you in on the backstory. Of course, this belonged to the late John Parham, a man from right here in Anamosa who became a motorcycle legend. He was the brains behind J&P Cycles, which became one of the largest and most successful motorcycle accessory companies in the world. His legacy lives on with his lovely wife, Jill, but Jill says, look, it's time to retire, and she doesn't know what to do with all this stuff. So Mecum has been brought in, and everything must go. There's some incredible bikes in there. So just like we do in Las Vegas, let's kick it around, sit back, relax, plan on watching this to the very end, because I have got to show you some unbelievable machines, including my drag racing guys will know the name Elmer Trett. If you don't know drag racing, he was basically our Dale Earnhardt, our Big Daddy Don Garlits, and believe it or not, his final motorcycle is up for auction. Everything in here is up for auction. Let's go dive in and see what we can find. We've got a lot to talk about, and we want to honor Mr. John Parham, as well as a lot of other great people, including Elmer Trett. Let's go. Pretty unique situation here is we don't typically see Mecum do stuff on site, but everything was here at the National Motorcycle Museum. There was room for the tent, so Mrs. Jill Parham contacted Mecum and said, why don't we just do the auction right here? Sounds like a good idea. See all the great Mecum employees here. We want to give a big shout out to them. Thank you for the hard work, ladies. We appreciate it. Always love seeing you at all the auctions. Guys, let's take a look inside the National Motorcycle Museum. All the bidders are here. Now, when I say all the bidders, I'm not talking about the ones that are watching all over the world. Mecum has such an incredible reach. They stream this auction live. Once you register to bid, you can be in a different country. Just like we see. I hope you have watched all of my Las Vegas Mecum auction coverage videos, because man, that is one of our favorite events of the year, 100%, that I recommend to everybody. Now look, as soon as you walk in, check out all the drag racing that's on display here. Look at all these pictures. We have to dive into some stuff. I think it's clearly evident that John Parham cared a great deal about drag racing, because as soon as you walk in to his museum, take a look. We got the Christmas tree. We got a bunch of different pictures over here, and there's the man I'm talking about, the late, great Elmer Trett, who sadly lost his life in 1996. Check out the throwback picture of Terry Vance of Vance and Hines way back in the day, the Michigan Madman, E.J. Potter. Look at that machine. That one would make Rocket Man very happy on this video. Here's Terry Vance's Top Fuel motorcycle that the Spider-Man Larry McBride now owns. So many motorcycles, so much history. So before we get started on some of the amazing drag bikes here, let's start with some street bikes that definitely have influenced drag racing, and this first one, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. In the drag racing world, it became the small block Chevy. Guys, I'm talking about a motorcycle that changed the industry as we know it, the 1973 Kawasaki Z1-900, affectionately dubbed the New York Steak. Such an awesome motorcycle. Definitely a bike that created the muscle bike. Many say the Honda CB created the sport bike, and here's one right here. This one, 1969 Honda CB, 4-cylinder. And it's so cool to have these bikes in this close proximity because we can really tell the story. I love the fact we have so many experts watching, and a lot of you in the comments may even have better info than me, inside info, but from everything that I've read, from everything that I've gathered, here's how it went. The war between Honda and Kawasaki was raging in the late 60s, and Honda was first to strike with the CB. Well, Kawasaki had planned to release the Z1 earlier, but when Honda came out with the CB and was so successful, they had to find a way to one-up Honda. So what Kawasaki did was delay the project just a little bit, take a step back and say, how do we really take this game to the next level? That resulted in a 900cc double overhead cam, shim adjusted engine that, like I said, was just a performance juggernaut. Many say this bike created the muscle bike, and I wholeheartedly agree. The 1973 Kawasaki Z1-900. Incredibly desirable, incredibly collectible. If you watched my Mecum coverage from Vegas this past year, you saw Mike Konopacki smash the world record when $50,000 was the hammer price for his. His was restored. This one's original, so it'll be interesting to see where exactly it goes. And the way this auction game works is sometimes you can't read too much into it. You know, another video that's very popular on this channel is we went to Mid-Ohio Vintage Days, and some people, I think, I've talked about this before, maybe got a little bit of fantasia after Konopacki's bike went for $50,000. Remember, the way it works in an auction is all it takes is two very competitive people, two very wealthy people with deep pockets to go head to head, and they could start at like 25 and battle each other all the way up. That might have been the case with Konopacki's Z1. Will that be where Z1s go across the board? I don't know. We'll see where this one goes here this weekend. The evolution and the legacy would lead to the 1976 Kawasaki KZ900. If anybody has one of these, let me know, the green one. I'd love to have one someday. This was my dad's first KZ. His was green for a very short period of time before he got it custom painted. He said he rode it to the hospital when I was first born to see me. That's probably why Cycle Drag exists. That's probably where I got the curse from. So thank you, Dad, for that. But I would like a green 76 someday. That led to the 1978 Z1-R. The sport bike war was on. Honda had the CBX out. Kawasaki was still trying to one-up their competitors. That's the futuristic styling with the Z1-R. The motor was increased. And how about this? A very select few came with a turbocharger. This one, Turbo Pack, out of California. And boy, these things were fast. I heard they didn't handle all that great, like many motorcycles back then. They didn't have the technology that we have today. But get a load of this, guys. The Z1-R, I know we got inflation to factor in and everything like that. Back in the day, you could have one out the door $3,500 roughly. The turbocharged model you could have for about $5,000. Piece of history here. Jumping ahead 20 years, you can see Kawasaki came a long way with the 1998 Kawasaki ZX-9r Ninja. Look at the technology that riders enjoyed in this area vis-a-vis the Z1-R area. But I will say this, many say the 70s were the most transformative decade for motorcycles, and I believe that to be true, case in point. So we talked about Kawasaki and Honda. Well, let's not forget Suzuki's role in this, and let's not forget back then, two-strokes were all the rage. Some of you may be asking, where was Harley in all this? Well, the Harley Sportster was still very competitive, but look at what was going on with motorcycles in the late 60s, early 70s. This was Suzuki's answer to the CB. They said, we'll up you with a 750cc rubber-mounted liquid cold two-stroke. Yes, two-stroke, guys. It is known as the Water Buffalo. It is the Suzuki GT 750, and it was bad on the streets. And when I say bad, I mean good. Bad to the bone. Kawasaki had its own answer to this with the air-cooled Kawasaki H2, known as the Widowmaker. This one, though, not known for the ill handling. It had a very comfortable plush seat, and these things were fast. We still see a couple of them out there on the drag strip. True piece of history here, the Water Buffalo from Suzuki. Have you ever ridden one? If you have, let me know. The GT series includes this 1972 GT 550. Also, we'll talk about small bore bikes that live on and are very, very collectible. The Suzuki GT 185. Quick note about this bike too. Shout out to William Uderdell, who rode more than 1 million miles in his life, 80 years young, when he finished with this bike. 225,000 miles he put on this Kawasaki ZX-9. So there you go. If anybody tells you sport bikes are uncomfortable, you tell them the story of an 80-year-old man putting 225,000 miles on this bike. Shout out my friend William. You are a true iron butt. It says on this sign here, William would farm during the day. He would jump on his bike and ride to about midnight, often putting on about 500 miles a day. That's what the passion is all about. That's what this channel is all about. Kudos, William. Now, I love all makes of motorcycles, and I did see that one gentleman in the Vegas video. Yes, I do read the comments. He commented that I was biased towards Kawasaki's. He said, nice video if you like Kawasaki. So I will show you all the makes here. Let's take a walk around because there's so much to see. Yamaha in this section, Vincent over here. Look at the board track. They have recreated a board track here. How cool is that with some old school, I'm talking old school board track racers. And when I say everything must go at this auction, mannequins, memorabilia, everything. Thank you for your hard work, sir. We appreciate it here. Everything being auctioned off, not just the motorcycles. John Parham's wife told me that he loved the trinkets. He loved the memorabilia. He loved it all. Talking about board track racers, here's a 1912 Indian board track racer. Could you imagine going around a track like this on one of these? A machine that looks a whole lot more like a bicycle. That's how it was back in the year 1912. These are highly collectible, very, very expensive. I got to admit, I was kind of talking about John Kramer with this too. It's I appreciate them. I like them. It's something that I would never spend a lot of money for just because it was so before my time. It's not something that I would want as much as a Z1 or a CB, but I can certainly appreciate them. They're special. And there are people here from all over enjoying this history, taking a good look at some of the early Harley Davidsons as well. So don't leave this video because we got too much all the way to the very end. But just in case you do, in case you're pressed for time right now, you might have to watch this in sections, but why don't I begin with something known as the best of the best, in case you only watched so far. Let's show you the absolute high dollar bikes before we get into some of the awesome stories back here. Best of the best, presented by Haggerty, and we begin, guys, with a 1930 Scott Flying Squirrel. Tell me about these bikes too, because as you know, I'm passionate about motorcycles, but there is so much to learn. I am not super strong on some of these older antique bikes. I know you guys can leave information in the comments and tell me all about them, but anytime you go back to 1930, I'm just in my head trying to calculate exactly how much this motorcycle will go for. Talking almost 100 years old at this point. Another rare bike here, finally restored. This is a 1906 Curtis Twin out of New York. The Brough Superior. Learned a lot about this in Jay Leno's garage this year. I hope you watched our interview from Jay Leno's garage, Burbank, California. That was quite a pleasure. And Jay may be interested in buying this one. This is a 1927 Brough Superior SS 100. This motorcycle, even back then, was guaranteed to exceed 110 miles an hour. Are we spoiled today or what, guys? Take a look at the tires, the wheels on this motorcycle. Can you imagine going 110? Probably feels like 210 on a Hayabusa, maybe 310 on a Hayabusa. Piece of history, Brough Superior. 72 cubic inch, 50-degree V-twin, guys. This is the 1916 Thor, designed to compete with Harley and Indian. Another true piece of history here. Very rare motorcycle out of Chicago, Illinois. They were known for board track racers, dirt track racers, and they were competitive. This one finally restored. Out of Toledo, Ohio, Yale motorcycles were produced from 1902 to 1915. This one's in 1914. Get a load of this, guys. The last motorcycle produced in 1915 you could have for the sale price of $260. 350cc, two-speed twin with a chain drive. Motorcycle for $260. That sounds good, huh? You think maybe in a 100 more years they'll be saying you could get a Hayabusa for only $20,000? Oh my gosh, where are we headed? Who knows? And this is whose collection we are looking at right now. John Parham, the Hall of Famer. His video being displayed right now. This is from his AMA Hall of Fame induction. Sorely missed. What a great guy. I hope he is smiling down. His wife was able to spend some time with him. Hopefully we hear from her in this video. She told me he was just so unbelievably passionate about motorcycles and such a smart businessman. She said her husband was one of those guys with the Midas touch. He just had a knack for making money. He understood how to do it. She was the IT and the technical operations in terms of the website, the .com, and that's really what took J&P Cycles to the next levels. When the internet came out, they had a very successful mail order business. They were able to parlay that over into the .com era, and that's when J&P Cycles absolutely exploded. And that's where they got all the funds to buy these incredibly rare motorcycles. You know, the story goes too, they helped bail out the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum, which was facing bankruptcy. The Parhams came in, bought it, and a lot of those bikes ended up here. There's a few that Jill tells me she kept for her own personal collection. I know she has a Flying Merkel that a few people were like, hey, where's that bike? And she's like, look, that one is mine. She's gonna keep a few of them. Certainly deserves that. And if there's any that are sentimental to her, they're gonna be kept in their rightful place. The motorcycle manufacturer of the 50s had to be Vincent. You talk about post-World War II success. I mean, my goodness, what an incredible bike. And nothing was badder or faster than the Vincent Black Shadow way back in the day. This is the Red Rapid. Let's get the pronunciation right though. It is the 1952 Vincent Rapide. Very cool bike. Featured a 998cc 50-degree V-twin, 45 horsepower. This thing would make at 5,200 RPM. Not too bad for the year 1952. What do you think? Lucas Magneto ignition, dry weight of 455 pounds. Work of art by Vincent. Before the CB750, there was the 1965 Honda CB450. This is when you could tell Honda was starting to up the CC, starting to get more heavily interested and involved in performance. And it was pretty clear where we were going and where this industry was headed by the year 1965. It was nicknamed the Tin Banana, and few motorcycles could match the styling of the 1962 Victoria 155. 155cc two-stroke engine, incredibly rare, and take a look at it, guys. There aren't many motorcycles that look quite like that. Here's one that was very popular for dirt track racing and road racing, 1959 Triumph 5TA Speed Twin. And just look at how clean all these motorcycles are. Incredible restorations. History lives on. If you're old enough to remember a Sears motorcycle on this channel, big props to you. This is a 1913 Sears Deluxe Dreadnought Twin. Again, a motorcycle looks a whole lot more like a bicycle, but back in the day, this is how they got it done. Here we have a 1912 Indian belt drive single. Look at this massive belt. Wow, this is cool. Very, very unique. So here's a question. Why did Indian do this? You know, Indian, all of their other motorcycles had chain drives. They were chain driven. They experimented with the belt because they were trying to cut cost. It was an experiment that didn't last too long because they quickly went back to the chain. That was where they found success, but it's definitely a rare and unusual sight. So what that means is belt drive Indians are very, very rare. Made only 2 years in both the 2 3/4 horsepower model and the 4 horsepower model. If you're a performance enthusiast, I'm sure you know the name Maserati. Did you know Maserati also made motorcycles? This is 1956 Maserati 160 Turismo. So that's our look at history, ancient history. Let's take a look now at an oddity and some famous bikes. And when I say oddities, I'm talking about this, guys. Take a look at the Road Dog. This is a 17-foot long, handmade, street legal motorcycle that is famous. There's a picture of it right back there. Could you imagine riding this thing? I'll tell you, I'd love to see this cruise down Main Street at Daytona Bike Week. It is wild. It is the 1965 Road Dog. Its owner, William Gelbke, he was an electrical engineer, loved bikes, and he created this. He was known as Wild Bill for good reason. Here's another motorcycle that he created. This one, 1972. Take a look at it, guys. He loved his custom creations. And for those of you who have ever tried to make a custom bike, you really understand and appreciate how much work it is to get everything right, to get everything to function. The factories make it seem easy. That's why there's very highly educated, highly paid engineers at all the factories that can mass produce these bikes, because being able to build one by hand like this, pretty amazing. One of the most famous motorcycle movies ever is Easy Rider, and here is a 1952 Harley Davidson Captain America replica. I know there's a lot of individuals out there in the comments that would love to cruise around on this. The king of cool, Peter Fonda, way back when. How awesome is it, guys? This one a replica, though, like I said, they still command top dollar. We saw one go for thousands and thousands of dollars at the Mecum Motorcycle Auction in Las Vegas. It'll be interesting to see what this one goes for. Reminiscing on the movie Easy Rider. There's another famous one from a movie, The Wild Angels. Who saw it? Who remembers it? This isn't a replica. This is the actual bike that Peter Fonda rode in that movie. Here's the vest that he wore in that movie. So, man, this is verified. Look, right here, we have a letter of authenticity. This is gonna drive the value up big time. I don't know how they were able to get a hold of this. Some of these motorcycles you wish could talk. With all the different collections that have been amassed throughout the years, who knows how it ended up here, but it is gonna be on its way to a new home here real soon. And speaking of on their way to a new home, everything must go, everything up on the walls, all the pictures being taken down, heading out to the tent to be auctioned off. Sir, did you tell me this is going down under?
No, it's going to Austria in Europe.
Austria, I'm sorry, I thought you said Australia.
Top mountain motorcycle museum.
Very cool.
That was in the newspapers 3 years ago for burning down.
Okay.
It's been rebuilt and we're restocking.
You're restocking it. Well, thank you very much for being here. We do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
How about it, guys? We told you we'll find some good homes for it. That stuff going to Austria. And before we go any further, I think we need to give Yamaha some love. What do you think? Where are you at, Yamaha fans? Great engineers and manufacturers of two-strokes. Yamaha proved that once again in 1972 with this Yamaha R5 350. Boy, the battle between Yamaha and Honda and Kawasaki and Suzuki, really hot. Still is hot. I was hot back then, but Yamaha certainly put out a great two-stroke. And it wasn't just about two-strokes back then for Yamaha, because take a look at this 1972 Yamaha XS2 parallel twin 4-stroke 650cc machine. It was Yamaha's version of a modern British twin. Boy, this one is pretty. The 80s were an amazing decade for motorcycles, and this is beautiful. And it's surprising to me that Yamaha only offered the XJ900RK for 1 year. Take a look at this, guys. This is 1983. After this would be all about the FJ for Yamaha, but this is a real piece of history and a rare motorcycle and a good-looking motorcycle indeed. 538 pounds, 5-speed transmission, and a top speed of 135 miles an hour with that cool fairing right there. Yamaha was definitely well in the game here in the 80s. Let's go back even a little further, because earlier I mentioned the Vincent Black Shadow, and here it is, ladies and gentlemen. It is one of the most evocative names in all of motorcycling. Maybe it would send shivers down a Norton BSA or Triumph man, because they knew in the 50s this thing was incredibly tough to beat. It was in a class of its own. It held the claim for world's fastest production motorcycle for several years, even after Vincent fell in the mid-50s. And speaking of fastest production motorcycles, how about the most powerful, fastest, quickest Harley that the motor company ever made? You know what it is, drag racing fans. Let's take a closer look. Long stroke crankshaft, larger valves, dyno-tuned velocity stacks, large bore, high compression, forged pistons, high lift cams, you name it. This was a performance juggernaut from Harley Davidson. It is the V-Raw Destroyer, offered for 1 year. It was a direct from Harley drag bike. Such a great story too. There are only 660 of these motorcycles roughly ever made. We've seen a lot of them go down the racetrack. I do believe, unless it's just a sticker on this one, it looks like this one was raced. It's got a brand new slick on it. As you can see, it's still got the small little nipples here on the drag slick. So that's, the slick was replaced. That doesn't mean it hasn't been down the racetrack, but a lot of them have never had gas in them. A lot of them are in bars and museums. Some of them are still out there competing, but there's only 660 ever made. Big nod to our friends at Pingle. I know they had a hand in this and a lot of performance parts. It was all about the V-Rod, the Harley V-Rod Destroyer. I must admit, they look like a lot of fun too. I wish they would bring it back. I wish all manufacturers would do this and offer drag bikes direct from the factory. Well, Suzuki kind of does with the Hayabusa, right? That's pretty much as close to a race-ready vehicle as you can get. But the Harley V-Rod Destroyers, man, they just look like a ton of fun. And that leads us over to the race section. This is a 1917 Excelsior Hill Climber. Take a look at what they used to use for traction. Are you kidding me? That looks like a weapon. That's how they used to hook up and try to get up the hills in 1917. Right next to it is a 1926 Excelsior Hill Climber. Motorcycle chain being used on the tire for traction in the early days of hill climbing. That sport would quickly evolve, as evidenced by this #1 plate holding unlimited AMA Pro Gas Hill Climb championship winning bike. This is a 1961 Harley Davidson built by Tom Reiser. Take a look at the paddle tire on the back of this crazy Harley machine. For my two-stroke fans, you'll appreciate this one as well. The H2 750, which, by the way, I have not seen any Kawasaki H2 750s in here, but I found an H2 750 power plant, which looks like it's in a KX. Let's get a closer look. Kawasaki H2 750 engine was very successful on the street, on the drag strip, and also in the dirt. This one comes out of British Columbia, Canada. Was used as a dirt dragger and a hill climber. Totally custom. As you can see, looks like a Kawasaki KX chassis in use with a 1972 Kawasaki two-stroke triple, 3 cylinders, 3 carburetors, 3 exhaust chambers. Known as the Widowmaker on the street for good reason. I bet it would be a whole lot of fun in the dirt with this crazy paddle tire on it. I know John Parham cared a great deal for drag racing, and I'm wondering if he had that same passion for hill climbing, because he's got quite a selection here. Look at this 1967 Triumph over here. How about a 1944 Indian Chief hill climber, 1924 Indian Scout hill climber, and I'm sure for many aficionados, the feeling on these bikes are probably what we get in the drag bike world a lot, and that is, what'd you do to that great motorcycle? You know, a lot of guys, they want to take their Z1 or their H2 drag bike back to street form, and I'm sure that in the hill climb world, a lot of these individuals face that same dilemma with the collectability and the value of these motorcycles increasing precipitously. Oh, guys. Oh. When you talk about legendary and iconic race bikes, this is the one we came for. Such a special and meaningful motorcycle. Guys, if you don't know about Elmer Trett, if you were to ask any motorcycle drag racer insider about their Mount Rushmore, I gotta believe that Elmer Trett would be on the majority of theirs, and #1 probably for just about everybody. Well regarded as the Don Garlits of motorcycle drag racing, the father of Top Fuel Motorcycle. Take a look at these numbers. 606, 235 miles an hour. Now I'm gonna blow your mind. That was in 1996. Those are still good numbers today. And look at what Elmer Trett did it with. Primitive front end, brakes, setup. This man was so far ahead of his time and gave his life to this sport. And when I say gave his life, that's not a figure of speech. And I hate to get into this, but we gotta tell the story that some of you may not know, that Elmer lost his life in 1996 at the NHRA US Nationals, the same race where we lost Blaine Johnson. Just a horrible, horrible race in the history of the NHRA. And even more astounding is that this is the motorcycle that he spent the last few moments of his life on. He came off the bike. This bike was put back together. It had the yellow body on it that you see right here. The yellow body was heavily destroyed. It was cut up. It was given to a lot of sponsors and a lot of family members. But right here, his legacy still lives on because they were able to put the motorcycle back together with the purple body. Elmer Trett was the first over 210, 220, and 230 miles an hour. And Larry Spider-Man McBride, who was a protege of Trett, who was the first in the 5-second zone in 1999, will tell you in 96, Elmer Trett had 5-second power. In fact, he probably could have cracked into the fives in November of 1996. Elmer loved motorcycles so much. Here's what he told AMA Pro Star promoter Keith Kaiser. After he ran the 606, that was August at the Pingle Thunder Nationals in Indy, he went and ran the NHRA race, and he told Scooter, the promoter, he said, don't worry, we're not gonna run the first 5 in front of car people. We're gonna save it for Gainesville, and we're gonna do it at the AMA Pro Star race. Of course, it was at that fateful NHRA race that Elmer would come off of this motorcycle and lose his life. Where this motorcycle will end up, we're gonna find out. We just did find out that the family wants it. His daughter, Gina, and her husband, the legend Tony the Tiger Lang. It's great to catch up with them. They want it. A lot of other people want this as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. Truly gorgeous motorcycle, though, and a legend that was just so far ahead of his time. Elmer Trett, his influence is still felt today. Take a look at the ingenuity, the machining, supercharged, head turned around backwards with the exhaust coming out this way. But I'll tell you, even though it had that technology, take a look at the brake technology. Larry Spider-Man McBride talks about his carbon brake, and of course now we have parachutes. Elmer didn't enjoy any of those safety features. He was the man. I asked Larry McBride, how did he go 606 in 1996? And Larry just said, simply put, he was bad to the bone. He was the man, 100%. This, I believe, was Mountain Magic 1 that Tommy Smith owns now. Elmer would build Mountain Magic 2 that in 1996 it became yellow. Elmer got his start in Harley racing, but here it is, guys, a piece of history. We never thought it would be for sale. That is for sure. It's bringing back memories for me. Brings a tear to my eye because I look at where this outlet has come, and I just wish I was a little bit older. I wish Elmer survived. I wish we had an opportunity to interview and to talk to Elmer. He'd be a regular guest on Cycle Drag. We would constantly pull his information and his knowledge. I go back and listen to some of his interviews. Such a quiet, soft-spoken man, but he's a guy that NHRA Top Fuel dragster racers like Jim Head would consult with because he had that much information. I really wish he was still here. Now, I will tell you this. I was lucky enough to watch this motorcycle go down the racetrack. ADCO 1995, I believe. That's where I developed the love. I was just a young boy, probably in 7th grade at that point, but I remember this motorcycle well, and I'll tell you, it gives me chills and goosebumps to see it again. And here's my idea. I'd like to see all of these motorcycles end up in either a museum or traveling road show. We look back here. This is the Top Fuel motorcycle of Terry Vance of Vance & Hines. Larry Spider-Man McBride bought that bike, still has that bike, may restore it back to that form. Could you imagine if we got that bike out, this one, and Larry McBride's Blue, the first 5-second motorcycle, and we're able to display them at NHRA Nationals? I think that would be the ticket, and Cycle Drag would be happy to help with that. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. And if you ever had the opportunity to watch this great man race, Elmer Trett, let us know about it in the comments, guys. A true legend who is missed to this day. Well, I can tell John Parham loved some of the oddities and excess as well, because I see this machine and I say, what? And the reason I say that is long before Boss Hoss, here's what a V8 looked like in a drag bike. Take a look at the 6 carburetors up here that you lay your chest on. Insane. 1953 Tom Reiser Chevy V8 powered drag bike. Look at this thing. How did they shoehorn this in? I'd love to hear it. I'd love to see it. It's crazy. The search for power was on, and at one point they thought this was the way. They also thought double engines were the way at one point, but Elmer Trett would soon learn and prove that this was the way to go. Speaking of double engines, take a look at this, guys. The Yamaha TZ 750, we saw one this year at 2-Stroke Bike Week. How about this one, a drag bike with 2 TZ 750 2-stroke engines in it? Oh my goodness. Don't know if it's ever been down the racetrack, don't know much about it. A-gas is what it has on the side of it, but look at this thing. Unreal, unbelievable. Here's a drag bike that's got me curious as well, because this is one I was fortunate enough to watch as a young boy, 1991 Happy Ring, and I'm just wondering, with all the attention being on the Elmer Trett bike, could this one possibly go for thousands less? This is a Top Fuel Harley that has won more than 75 national events. It was ridden by Happy Ring. It's a puppet chassis, piece of history. Like I said, I talked to Happy. moments ago. He's not exactly sure how it ended up in this museum. Like I said, some of these bikes have a long road to get here. I think at one point S&S owned this bike, and now we'll see who steps up and buys it. And what's the value of one of these motorcycles? You know, certainly not going to be anywhere near what the Trett bike is worth, but it's a historic and important bike. And I don't know the history on this one in terms of chassis, but maybe a bike that could still be run nostalgia exhibition. I don't know. And if you really want to lose your mind, you could take a ride on this 2011 Shockwave sidecar. I'll get behind the handlebars. I don't know if I'm going to do the sidecar. You better really, really trust the person that you're riding with to be able to do that. Crazy. John Parham loved racing, and as you can tell, he loved the Streamliners as well. Take a look at this machine. John was actually the crew chief for this one, piloted by Leo Hess. Gosh, what an amazing Streamliner. I know my land speed guys will like that. My pleasure to catch up with this very young lady, Mrs. Jill Parham. I want to say thank you for having me. I know this is an emotional day for you as well. Your husband's such a great guy. You're such a wonderful person, and you guys really embody the American success story. High school sweethearts from here in little sleepy, how do you say it again?
Anamosa.
Thank you very much.
Anamosa.
Anamosa, Iowa, who grow into one of the largest motorcycle accessory companies in the world. Looking back, I mean, what's your impression of how far you were able to come?
You know, when we first started, my husband was such an entrepreneur, and I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, he's got such high dreams. Are we ever going to get where he wants? And as we started to, you know, really get there and grow and grow and grow, it was just overwhelming almost. And then, unfortunately, he got sick and passed. And so he had such a passion for this museum. I thought I would just try it for, 6.5 years I've tried it. So
he would be very proud of the way that you have kept this going. And something that I've said too is that unfortunately, time does not wait for any of us. And you told me yesterday, you said, you got to retire at some point, right?
Yeah, it doesn't go on forever. I mean, I'm not going to live forever. So somebody had to do something with this. And I thought, I'm just going to go out with a bang. So, it's been a great ride in my entire life. We've been into motorcycling since we were way young. And we've done races, we've done hill climbs, we've done swap meets, we did the J&P Cycles business, and now this museum. And I don't know what else more I can do in life with the motorcycle world, I guess. So, but I'm not going to leave it. I'm going to still go to events because I love this. I love all the people in this world. They become my family.
I can totally understand that. Bittersweet is a key word that we've been tossing around. I'm sure there's a lot of this that is bitter, but is it sweet to see this stuff go to a new happy home?
Yes, it has been. And I really think some of them were buying the stuff today because it was John Parham's, and they loved how he had such a creative feel for all the motorcycle things, and he loved every angle to the motorcycle world. And I was amazed at the prices that things went to today, and the people that bought them, and just little things, that I think they bought them because John, had them. I really do, and that was great. That makes me feel really good.
You and John made quite a team. As I learned about him, he was the visionary with the Midas touch. He could just make money. You came in as the IT expert and somebody who he said on his own video could dot all the I's and cross all the T's. Explain that one for me.
Well, he would have these great ideas, and then he'd just throw them at me and at our staff, and then he'd be like, on to the next thing, and he'd be like, figure that one out and get that taken care of. And we did, and I like the detailed stuff of all that and the accounting side of it, and so they moved on and had another idea, and then we grew that part. And so we had to sit on separate sides of the building, though. We couldn't be in the same office. We definitely couldn't do that. And when you live with somebody that you work with like that, it's not easy.
No, and you guys went through an awful lot. I heard in that video there were even times where financially you were in trouble. I heard the story where he called Fred Fox, and Fred Fox said, I'm not going to loan you any money, but you need to raise your prices. And it seemed like advice like that really helped catapult.
It did. And when we changed banks, and we finally found a bank that believed in us, and that was a really big thing. And that was a local bank here in Anamosa. And it was, then we got to grow. We grew and grew and grew then. And so at one point when we were still there, we had 325 employees. It was a little overwhelming, but this has been hard at the museum since he passed because I'm doing it alone. I shouldn't say alone. My son really helps me a lot, but he doesn't live here in Anamosa anymore, and so I am kind of doing it alone. And I had a board that helped me, but it's not fun alone, you know. And so, and I had a lot of great friends that gave me a lot of advice on, you know, because I wasn't the bike person, you know, John was, and so, and he bought all this stuff, and I didn't even know everything I owned when he died, to be honest with you.
I've just enjoyed sifting through everything. I'm not even halfway through. What's the feedback you get when somebody walks through here for the first time?
Oh my God, they think it's they actually think it's the best museum they've ever been into. That has, because it has so much memorabilia and bikes from every different make and model. And John liked to do that because he wanted people to walk in here and say, "That was my first bike I ever rode." That he loved to have people do that. So he wasn't just a Harley guy, even though the Harleys were his favorite. You know, he wanted something from everything. So I've kept 10 of his bikes, and I kept several of his bikes that people wish were in that auction tomorrow, but they're part of our family now. So.
And what's cool, I really wish I had an opportunity to have a conversation with your late husband, but it's clear he loved drag racing from everything that I'm seeing here. And we're paying homage to him, we're paying homage to Elmer Trett, but some amazing drag bikes here. Was he a big fan?
Well, we used to promote drag racing, and so we'd hire the sanctioning people, you know, to run the race, but we did the promotion side of it and worked the gate, and we loved, and you know, he wasn't even a guy that had the need for speed, you know, he wasn't like a crazy driver or anything, but he loved drag racing. He never did it himself, but he loved promoting it. He loved, you know, just the people that came and all the racers. Yeah, it was fun.
Well, Jill, this has been a joy. Thank you for having us. I hope you really get to enjoy your retirement, do some riding or kick your feet up and enjoy it. Before I go, I like to ask all of my successful business people, all of my legendary figures, what is the best advice you could offer somebody young right now through everything you have learned throughout all your trials and tribulations, your successful career? What's the best advice you could offer?
You know, don't ever give up. If you've got a dream, you can make it work. It just takes a lot of hard work. You know, sometimes these people in that era today think, well, I don't want to work weekends or anything. When you have a dream, you work whatever it takes. And I still do that here at the museum. I wasn't going to put my people through what they had to go through the last 45 days of working all these weekends. So I haven't had a day off in 45 days. And so, you know, I just keep working at your dream. And if you work hard enough, it'll come.
Jill, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
All right.
And it's more than just motorcycles in here, guys. 1911 Aero hydroplane. How in the world does this end up in here? Crazy.
Yeah, they had to assemble it here.
Yeah, how'd they get it in here? That's the big question. How are they going to get it out of here? Well, we'll find out. Might go
in pieces.
In pieces. Wow.
Hopefully, after you spend all that money, you get the stand with it.
Yeah, you get the stands. Hopefully, right next to it too, a Flying Merkel that could go for about $100,000. Let's take a look at this one. It's a 1914 Flying Merkel. These highly desirable. What do you think, sir? How much is this going to go for?
80, 90,000, I guess.
We shall see. We shall see, guys. There is a more. It really is. Really, really is. Impressive. You look at. How about the airplane, too? I can't. Uh-oh, sir. I'm not going to tell on you, but look at that sign. Be careful.
The last stand.
That's all, man. Don't touch. You can look.
Make sure it was there.
You can
watertight.
Look. There you go. You can look, but you can't touch. That's what I believe I heard the DJ at a gentleman's club say one time. You can look, but you can't touch. Not that I frequent gentleman's club. You know, I would never do that. But pretty impressive, guys. I'm still wondering how they're going to get this thing out of here. 1934 Indian Scout Bonneville Salt Flat bike. Really cool. Right next to the Christmas tree. The Christmas tree up for bid as well. Hey, we could practice our lights. Look at all these pictures too. There's Elmer up on the wall. There's Andrew Hines and Willie G. Davidson. So much drag racing stuff. That's why I know that John Parham had to be a big drag bike fan. Shout out to my man Kent Stotts as well up on the wall. Kent's bike was here at one point. He got that back. It was on loan. A little bit of a discrepancy here with, I think Kent, some of this stuff might be his. It might have been lumped in to a lot. Not exactly sure how that's going to shake out, but it's probably tough organizing all this stuff. I know no ill intent at all by anybody. If it is Kent's, in fact, hopefully we can get it back to him. Just amazing, though. I don't know how they were able to keep track of all this stuff. Look at the vast collection of engines here. Truly unbelievable. All right, dirt bike fans, let's take a quick look at some of the restored off-road motorcycles that we have here, because we've got plenty of those as well. Here's a 1971 Hidaka Super Rat. Before the RM, we had the 1974 Suzuki TM 400 motocross racer, and Suzuki found a lot of success in this form of racing with the TM. 1970 Greeves Griffon motocrosser, two-stroke. Can't say that I have ever seen one of these in person. British company. Very cool. Right next to it is a 1964 Rickman. Here's a name I am familiar with, and I'm sure you are as well, because they had a lot of success in motocross in the 1970s. Mecum. This is 1976 Mecum AW250. Another name I'm sure you're familiar with, the Bultaco. 1968 Bultaco. Is this a 250 over here? Yes, it is a 250. Boy, motocross machines have come a long way as well. And what a vintage traffic signal. Even a vintage traffic signal here. You never know what you'll find. Husqvarna, 1973 Husqvarna 450 Desert Master. This one formerly ridden by the legendary Malcolm Smith. I was out near Corona, California. I had an opportunity to go to Malcolm Smith Motorsports many times. Oh, look at that, autographed as well. Look, front Malcolm Smith Motorsports. There we go, 1973. Piece of history. And over here we have another Husqvarna. This one, a 1971 360. More rare dirt bikes. So automatic Rokon. Who's ever seen this? This is the 1975 Rokon 340 MX. Next to it, Penton. You come to things like this and you really get an education. You think you know motorcycles, and then you see bikes that you have never seen before. 1966 Penton 125 6-day. Sport bike fans, here you go with a much more modern 2000 Ducati MH900e. I love the exhaust on this. How cool is that? That is really, really neat. How cool is this too? Take a look at this cutaway V-twin engine. If you ever wondered what it looks like inside a high-performance V-twin engine, here you go. Let me give you a close look. The pistons, the rods, the crankshaft, all the componentry. Very educational. Very, very cool. I absolutely love it. This one courtesy of RevTech. Take a good look. If you follow my content and have watched my Mecum videos, you know another one of my favorite bikes is the Honda CBX, the monster, the 6-cylinder. Here's a livery that we don't see quite often. Normally it's the red and black, but this one in 1982 Super Sport. As we touched on earlier, the performance war was on amongst the manufacturers in the 1970s, and Honda took that to a whole new level in 1978 with the double overhead cam, 4-valve per cylinder, CBX 1000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, count them. Unbelievable. Like I said though, this one, a Super Sport from the year 1982. Very cool paint. Had Comstar wheels that were built up from riveted aluminum extrusions and stampings. It was a benchmark for design, fit and finish and styling. And look at this, it had bags on. This one has bags. It was a bagger. Boy, I can't imagine there's many miles on this one as well. 15,000 miles it actually says on the tag. It's hard to believe because it is in excellent condition. Finally preserved, finally restored, 1982 Honda CBX 1000. Here's your 1985 Honda Goldwing GL 1200, one of the finest cruisers ever made. Take a look at this one. This one was all about comfort, that's for sure. The Honda Goldwing, legendary and iconic bike. Honda was heavily involved in the small bore game as well. Here's a 1972 SL 125. Right next to it, we have a 1974 Honda XL70. And then we take a look over here. Here are some of these machines. You want to talk about collectability going through the roof. 1969 Honda Trail 70. Right next to it, we have the 1969 Honda CT70. Also came in blue. Very, very cool, guys. So many people still want these bikes. I've seen a ton of them this year at Mid-Ohio Vintage Days. And yeah, if you like Hondas, enjoy this row. Drink it in. How great is it, guys? 1974 XL 350 over here. We have the 1965 Honda Hawk 305, 1971 CL Scrambler. CL Scrambler right here. Over on this side, 1974 Honda CB 354, 1970 CL 450 K3. Next to it over here, the 1982 CB Custom, and as we saw before, motorcycle that, helped me in the comments, did it create the sport bike? Many say it did. It was groundbreaking at the time. The Honda CB 750, this one in 1969. Here's a dual sport motorcycle that you can certainly get a lot of bang for your buck with. 2001 Kawasaki KLR 650. This one loaded down. It's even got the ammo cans on the side. And as I showed you before, they have an actual board track in here to depict some racing. We also have a hill climb depicted. That's cool. Very cool. Wonder if the actual hill climb display is up for bid. Everything must go here. And look at this, guys. 1934 Harley Davidson Servicar. Wow. Donated by John Parham. Who knows where he got it? Gosh, who knows the history on these? Tell me a little bit about it in the comments if you can. More cycle cars in here. There's a 1923 Henderson cycle car. This one picked by American Pickers Mike Wolf. Shout out to him. We got to meet him this year in Vegas. Pretty cool, guys. Look at all the different signs back there as well. Those super collectible. Man, just years and years of a collection. I gotta tell you guys, I love walking through here. Very passionate, very excited about all this. I gotta tell you though that it also strikes a chord. A little bit of a downer, a little melancholy. It's a vivid reminder of our own mortality, and that John Parham, so successful, such a wonderful guy, but all of us eventually are going to meet our maker and can't take any of this stuff with us. And what I'm reminded of every time I do a story, every time somebody is in the latter stages of life and I ask them for their advice and I look in their eyes and they tell stories, I can tell what really means the most to them. It's not the aluminum, it's not the steel, it's not the rubber, it's not behind the handlebars, it's the memories. It's not the physical object, it's the memories. It's the people that we met along the way. That's what this journey is all about. That's what motorcycles are all about. I got a good buddy who's fighting cancer, and we're praying for him, and we really hope that he pulls through. But I know as his outlook turned bleak, he said it's the memories. It's the memories that are the most valuable thing in life, and I truly believe that nobody's calling for their motorcycle on their deathbed. They're calling for their loved ones that we enjoyed. So that's what this is all about. I hope if you have a loved one that you enjoyed motorcycles with, I hope you're able to watch that and this channel with them. And like I said, I know there's a lot of you out there who unfortunately can't come out to events like this anymore. You may be bedridden, you may not be feeling good. Well, don't worry, that's what this is all about, because as long as I'm healthy, as long as I'm still walking on 2 feet, I'm gonna keep traveling and bringing you guys these events. Let's give a big nod to all the road racing bikes here as well. And there are plenty of Harley Davidson, Kawasaki, Bridgestone. How about Bridgestone? Harley Davidson, very successful in road racing back in the day, as evidenced by this one. Take a look at this one, 1974. Oh, here's a Kawasaki I would love to own someday. Very cool. They have it all represented here too. BSA, Perilla, NSU, Ducati, Honda. Very impressive too. Love the leathers on display, the different mannequins here. All right, as Arnold would say, get to the chopper. Well, we got to show you some choppers. You know we love those. Before we get to the chopper, we have a 1936 Norton Model 30 International Road Racer. Wow. Right next to it, 1990 Harley Davidson Sportster Custom. Great looking motorcycle. Okay, so here is what we have. We have a custom chopper with a Honda CB engine in it. I learned this year that is a very popular choice for a lot of chopper individuals. Here's the 1998 Pumpkin, they call it, custom bike. How about this one, guys? 2000 El Diablo camel road bike by Jesse James. Shout out Jesse James, West Coast Choppers. That is very, very cool. Let me tell you a little bit more about this Jesse James bike here as well. The man behind West Coast Choppers was on top of his game in 2000, and that's when Camel was looking for a way to showcase their brand. It resulted in this one, El Diablo, which was the 2000 Roadhouse competition winner. Very well done, Mr. Jesse James. Take a look at the paint, the fit, the finish. West Coast Choppers, definitely one of the greatest motorcycle shops of all time. How about Le Bleu Custom by Randy LeClaude? Take a look at this one. I like this paint. As a Florida Gator, I would appreciate this. This is the SNS 124 Hot Bikes Ultimate Challenge winner. Over here, take a look at the Indian Chopper. Very cool. This is a custom Indian Larry Memorial bike. Another one of the legendary figures who, unfortunately, we got to pay homage to, who's no longer here. Wow, and check this out. We have a whole wall tribute to Indian Larry, signed to J&P Cycles. You know, guys, I love paying homage to these legends, but I just hate the fact that so many of them are no longer with us. But thank goodness they can live on in these videos. Shout out to the great Indian Larry. 1973 Harley Davidson Magna Cycle Chopper V-twin here. Wow. If you watched my Sturgis video, I told you about how much I appreciate trikes because they keep people in the game longer. Maybe people that can't ride on 2 wheels anymore, they can ride on 3. Take a look at this one. This is a V6 by Ed Big Daddy Roth. Totally custom, and guys, also an iron butt because Ed Roth drove it from the streets of LA all the way to St. Paul, Minnesota. Nice job, my friend. Look at how cool that is. Great display too. Look at all the art behind them. All the throwback stuff. My goodness, so many memories and so much history here. And Ed Big Daddy Roth, also a formidable artist, did all these, and I really appreciate my friend over here who appreciates art, and man, just astounded, huh? What an artist.
Yeah, Ed Roth truly was Renaissance man. I mean, he had mechanical talent, he had artistic talent, he could have really done anything. He could have been a fine artist for a career. The persona, it was edgy, it was out there, and it was something that got him recognized.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with me. Here's a big question. You gonna bid on any of this stuff?
I've got an eye on some of the European bikes.
Okay.
So.
I'm surprised to see the scooters in here as well. John, maybe like us, just had an affinity for anything with 2 wheels. We've got the old school throwback Vespas. 1961 Cushman Eagle here as well. Take a look at this. A Lambretta LI 150 special. Can't tell you I've ever seen one of those before. And this is where the memorabilia and trinkets just goes for days. And Jill told me John was just as passionate about this stuff. He loved the collectibles. My gosh, I wish he was here to give us a tour and tell us about some of these things. Look at the old tools. Oh my goodness. Old school tools. Very cool. Look at the old photos. Pen collection. So much in here. How about a 1969 Harley Davidson XLH Sportster with only 7,200 miles. Boy, that's a pretty looking motorcycle. Sportster has won the hearts of several riders, and I gotta say it has won me over the years too. I love it on the drag strip. This is a 1961 Harley Davidson Sportster XLCH. Right next to it, 1965 Harley Davidson Sportster XLCH in great condition. 1931 Indian Sport Scout that was used on the Wall of Death. Did you see our video from Mid-Ohio? They're still doing the Wall of Death. Can you believe it? And this is an homage to the early woman riders of the Motordrome, aka the Wall of Death. Jump to a more modern Sportster here with a 1987 Harley Davidson 883 Sportster. Great motorcycles. Here we have the Harley Davidson XR1000. This the year 1984. Right next to it in 1928, Harley Davidson J model. Over here, 1928, Harley Davidson Model B Peashooter pup. How about this iconic paint? What a dichotomy too. We're just jumping all around the different years here when it comes to the Harley collection. Battery tender on it, I like that. That means we're gonna fire it up. This is a 2003 Harley Davidson Road King. More classic and legendary Harley Davidson motorcycles. Check out the cool setup. Looks like an old dealer, an old Harley dealer. That's what it's staged as, and John Parham knew that quite well. He started out as a dealer in the motorcycle business, trying to get things going with a high school buddy until eventually he would buy him out and go out on his own. 2000 Harley Davidson Heritage Springer Softail right here, and we have another gold wing. Let's see, what year is this gold wing? This is a 1986 Honda gold wing over here. More of the paintings and the pictures that I talked about, every single one of them up for auction here today. Have you ever seen this one? This is the 1965 Allstate SGS 250 Twingle. Never seen one of these in person either. Some rare bikes that we're seeing here on this video. This is a 1950 Harley Davidson custom scooter, 125 cc's. Man, Harley made it all. Indian Scout dirt track racer. What a mix too. I gotta mention just about everything represented. We haven't given BMW much love, so let's do that. My godfather will be sadly disappointed if I don't. I know he'll watch this. He loves BMWs. This is a 1934 BMW R11. Right next to it, a 1939 BMW R12. We watched the Black Forest collection go for big money this year in Las Vegas. People really, really love the 1930s BMWs. Here's a 1936 BMW R4. We got the Moto Guzzi alongside it as well. Taking a look over here at this section as well. I know that there's just so much to get through, guys. We're running out of time here, unfortunately, and we have to get out of here in a little bit. But I hope you have enjoyed this look at some of the incredible motorcycle history here. Just amazing. And you know, God bless the legends that we've lost. God bless Indian Larry. God bless Elmer Trett. And God bless the man who brought us all these motorcycles, John Parham, and his lovely widow, Jill, who we wish a great, wonderful retirement to. But we cannot forget Steve McQueen's 1947 Chief. That's the king of cool, Steve McQueen. How about it, guys? Indian Chief. Wow. Very, very cool. My goodness, what's this thing gonna sell for? I don't know. It says this exhibit is not for sale. Will be included in the auction. So everything, absolutely everything coming with this one. Wow. Even this Land Speed, beautiful bronze statue art. What will it sell for? What will it command? There's a market for this. Another bronze motorcycle. What will this statue sell for? Special homage to military bikes as well. These ones will all go. We got a 1941 BSA, 1945 BSA, all the way up to this machine, 2004 Hayes DT. It says USMC on it, used by the Marine Corps, I assume. You guys will have to give me the story on that one. As you can tell, John Parham, a very, very proud American. And the question is, again, like I say, what will this sell for? We've covered lots of people that like to ride with their dogs, and that includes Bertha, the biker dog, her 2004 Harley Davidson XL 883 with the sidecar for the dog. What will this sell for? Old school Harley Davidson sign from a dealer. I know a lot of people would love one of those, all from the collection of this great man. What a beautiful tribute there. That is truly special. Well, we're in farm country too, and you can tell by some of the throwback trucks that you see here in Anamosa, Iowa.
For advertising.
Everything is for sale and everything must go. And when I say it's all for sale, guys, even the building, I wasn't lying. What will it sell for? So you heard me pose that question a lot. What will it sell for? What will it sell for? Well, guys, unfortunately, I can't tell you that information just yet because guess what? I got to run to a race. I got to get out of here. I really enjoyed this, but all that information I will have available on cycledrag.com. You can also get it off the Mecum site, and it'll be curious to see what all this goes for. As I said, even the building for sale. But it was a true pleasure to be here. Big thanks to Jill Parham. Big thanks to Mecum and everybody. And can't wait to see all these motorcycles go to a new happy home. The end of an era. God bless John. I know he's smiling down, and I know he's very, very happy for everybody who takes ownership of these motorcycles. Guys, this is what we do. We travel far and wide for you. It may not just be a drag strip. It may not be Las Vegas. It may even be in the fields of Anamosa, Iowa. And if you appreciate it, please smash subscribe for me and let's keep this thing going. Be a friend, tell a friend. If you know anybody that loves motorcycles out there, that loves two wheels, tell them, hey, get subscribed to this channel and follow along because we got a lot of cool things coming. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you check out all of our Mecum Motorcycle Auction videos. Also the video we did from Mid-Ohio Vintage Days here on the Cycle Drag YouTube channel. Very similar content where I just take you along with me, kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thank you guys so much. If you like that video, here's another one for you. Subscribe right in the middle, and you know if there's anything fast or collectible motorcycles, we're in. From Anamosa, Iowa, Cycle Drag rolls on.